Todd Talk. Today I want to talk about how I write a song. This might all look a little different, this border and all that, and what I'm doing is I'm using the scenes that I use when I live stream Minecraft. And so the lighting's a little different, and the framing and branding is a little different. We'll be fine. The reason I do this is because I have the ability to switch between my desktop and a little camera like that. So that's why I'm doing this. So I've played music for a long time. Way back in the 5th grade, I started playing saxophone, and I played saxophone all through middle school. And then when I got in high school, I played in the band, and I also played in the jazz band, and I played in the basketball pep band and all that. Last couple years of high school, I got into a lot of music that I liked a lot, and I decided I wanted to learn how to play guitar. And so I picked up guitar, and I sort of picked up keyboards a little bit. At one point, I broke my arm in high school, and they put me in the percussion section. So I got to hang out with a lot of drummers, and drummers are music nerds. They really know their stuff, and I learned a lot from those 3 or 4 months that I was stuck up there. And once I got out of high school, I played in a couple of bands. The first couple were just kind of thrashy, rocky type bands, and then I started to get more into electronic music and did something that was more like a White Zombie kind of thing, big guitars and drum machines, and it was very, very fun. And the way I used to write a song back then is very different than the way I write a song now. Back then, I would really start on guitar because I would have to sing and play the thing, and then I would teach some of the other people in the band my parts, and then they would come up with parts off of those, and that's kind of how we worked. And I do miss it. I miss going out there and playing in front of people and connecting with an audience, but I don't miss dealing with the booking agents and the schlepping your gear around and all of that. I don't know, maybe someday I'll play out live again. And lyrically, as I've gotten older, just have this feeling like I just don't have as much to say. When I was younger, I was a much more angsty and angry person, and that whole, youth counterculture, you got a lot of stuff to say. But as you get a little bit older, you realize a lot of it's been said before, and a lot of it doesn't really need to be said. And so, why write songs? Why write the lyrical parts of the songs anyway? And really, it is if you have something important or interesting to say. And there are some people who are really great lyricists. Even with pop music and stuff like that, some of that is really fun and interesting. But I just don't have a lot of lyrical stuff going on lately. Lately, most of the music I've been writing has been for my channel and for my Minecraft videos. I've done a few batches of music, 6 songs at a time, and I'll release them on Spotify and Apple Music. So if you search or look at the link in this video, you can find my music out there. And when I started writing music for my Minecraft videos, I kind of had a vision in mind of what I wanted them to be. First and foremost, I wanted them to be video game music. So they needed to be catchy, they need to be kind of driving or interesting in that way, relatable to what is going on in the video, and kind of follow a pop song structure. I also wanted them to be kind of smart, so they have some weird chords or weird chord changes, some interesting progressions. Some of them are in weird time signatures. So I didn't want it to just be standard blah 4/4 pop music. I wanted it to be video game music that was sort of jazz influenced and kind of smart or weird in that way. Some of the songs are kind of mellow, kind of laid back. Some of them are really upbeat and dancey and electronic. So they're kind of all over the place in that regard. So what I want to do today is just kind of take you through how I write a song. Some of it might be kind of interesting. Some of it might be kind of surprising. Some of it might not be. So I primarily work in Logic Pro. Most everything I do as far as my Minecraft videos and my video editing and my music making, I do on a Mac. So Logic is just a really easy thing for me to work in. So what we're going to do is we'll just start a new song, and let's see, empty project, choose. We're going to start with a software instrument, create. Okay, and so here we are. This is Logic, and usually what I do when I start a song is I either have a chord progression in mind or I have a concept. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write something in just C major, I guess. So I've just got a standard classic electric piano selected, and then I bring up my little music roll, and believe it or not, even though I've got a Telecaster over here and I've got a keyboard controller down here, what I usually do is I literally just draw the chords. So there is our C major, and then I'll just kind of come up with a really simple kind of poppy chord progression. Putting on my headphones because I realized I couldn't hear anything. Yeah, we're just going to sketch out a chord progression, see what happens. And then you can see way up here, I've just got my little chord progression that I've just made. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop it. I'm just going to select this and just push play. Okay. It's a little faster than I want it to go. Let's slow it down a little bit. So that's about the tempo I want, but I want it to go about half time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stretch all those chords out so they're twice as long. Okay. And I realize there's like a million people right now who are watching this going, there is an easier way to do that, Todd. And I don't know what it is. Okay, what do we got? Okay, I can work with that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another track. We're going to do another software track, and I want to do some drums. I'm going to put my drums at the top just so I can kind of keep the rhythmic stuff up top, and I'll keep the more melodic stuff and harmonic stuff down lower. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to look at electronic drum kits. Let's see. Kick. I'm just going to do a kick on the one. Let's see, and let's turn the velocity up a bit just so they're hitting a little harder. Okay, and then we'll do a snare. 2, and the 4. Replicate that, and then the hi-hat. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up my piano part a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to do a little bit of voice leading. So right now you can see I've got these 4 chords kind of sketched out here. So see, that's a, whoops, get out of there. That's a C. But see, we're jumping all over the place. And I want to kind of keep it a little more smooth. So I'm just going to take C and drag it down here. And then what's this? This is a D, that right there. So now you can see these C's kind of line up nice and these D's kind of line up nice, so it'll be a smoother chord change. And so now what I want to do is I want to make this a little bit more interesting, because I'm still not like hearing the melody, or I'm not like feeling like inspired about anything. We had this B up here. Right? That's just a good old a G chord. Yeah. We started with a C. So what if we do like a C7? Then we'll do was a F chord. Was it an F chord? Yeah. E in there. So right next to each other, that's gonna be weird sounding. It's not bad, but it's weird. There's this like floaty feeling now. Or 7. those chords are really dense now. And so now I'm kind of feeling some interest, but I hate this sound, this electric piano. What I usually do in a lot of my songs is I use a Wurlitzer. Wurlitzer just has a real 70s sound to it. It's a very early electronic piano. You hear it a lot in a lot of 70s singer-songwriter, a lot of Steely Dan, stuff like that. And those dense chords, they're a little less offensive, I find. Okay, I'm going to turn the drums down a little bit just because they're kind of boring and loud. And so the next thing I'm going to do is just try to come up with a bass line. So I'm just doing another track. We're going to go over here to synthesizer bass. What I'm going to start with, I think, is just the root of each chord. Let's see. That bass is a little high for me. I'm going to go down an octave. So the bass following the chords is safe and it's kind of boring sounding. And so I want to find some other notes for the bass to play and maybe come up with something of a rhythm or a groove. Pull that out. Pull that out. Kind of have a kind of a doo-woppy feel kind of thing with that. Let's see, and I'm thinking I kind of want a little bit of a passing chord here. We add the bass in. Okay, and then what I want to do is this little movement here, I want to replicate that at the end. Da 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 da. Okay, I generally like that rhythm. I think it's fun, it's interesting. But we're still kind of following the root primarily. So let's start with the C, but then we'll go up to the third. And then here we're on a D. So there's a thing. That might be a verse, maybe. Might be an intro. We'll see. What I need to figure out next is where is this gonna go? So what I'll usually do is I'll come up with a verse and maybe a chorus, or a verse and then a pre-chorus and a chorus, and then figure out, you know, how are those going to flow into each other. Okay, so I've kind of got this building thing. Right, so we'll turn these all into chords and see what we think of that. Then I've kind of got an idea of where it could go next, but I don't know if it's going to be good or if it's going to work. Okay, that could work. I'm going to do kind of like we did before and do some voice leading so I can move some things around. So like these notes are a little lower than they should be, and these notes are way lower than they should be compared to these other notes. So I'm going to just line some things up here. So like here, this A note, I'm going to bring it up here. So now you can see it's kind of in line with the other A notes we've been playing. Now that we got the voice leading, it kind of sounds like this. Okay, these are all just simple triads. There's 3 notes in each chord. So let's see if we can add some extensions, make them more interesting here. Okay, those chords are really dense now. Like you can see as we kind of scroll across it, like they barely move at all. They're really dense, but there is movement harmonically in there. And so now it's kind of up to the bass to pull out the movement. So I'm going to switch back to the bass and see if I can add something of a bass line. And to start, I'm just going to follow the chord that I did, the pattern, the bump, 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 and just see what happens. Okay, this thing at the end here with the high bass notes, I might switch that up a little bit, but I'm going to leave it for now. And now I'm thinking like we're in the key of C, and we have climbed up to the 3rd, the E, and the E is the 5th of A. 5. So we could potentially try and do a key change here and see what happens. So we can go from C major to basically, could go to A major, we could go to A minor and see what happens. Now to sell this, I'm going to have to do something kind of cliche, I think. Something really familiar. Because if you try to get too wild, it's not going to feel like home. It's not going to feel like we've landed somewhere. So we really want to sell that A is the new home. So let's see what happens. I'm going to just start on an A. So we're going to potentially drop way down to the octave below. So it's a really beefy A. Now the tricky thing again is this pre-chorus starts on an A. So it might just feel like we're coming back around. So we really need to sell this so it feels like a key change. Okay, so what I've got here is just a good old 1, 6, 4, 5, like the chord progression that every pop song in the world uses. And in A minor, it sounds like this. And that's super usable. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the chords to this new bass line, just kind of follow that chord progression, and then see how it all kind of sounds together. So in A minor, it's going to sound like this. And then like before, I'm going to do just a little bit of voice leading. So like this up here, this C that's way up here, bring it down here. What is this? It's a B. I've got B down there, so we'll grab that. It's cooler for sure. Okay, so now we have this whole progression here. We've got a little bit of a verse. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch the verse out a little bit just so we get a better feel for it. And then we have this pre-chorus thing, and then we have a chorus. So let's just listen to the whole thing all the way through. Okay. So obviously some of these parts need to be longer. Some of these sounds need to be changed a little bit to make them more interesting. The drum part is boring. There's no melody. There's no something you would hum along with yet. So there's a long way to go, but I think this is kind of a good start. And that is where I'm going to leave it tonight, and then I'll pick this song up another time. So new day, and I did just a little bit of fiddling with the drums and then stretch things out so we could hear what it sounds like. So let's just give it a listen. So next thing I'm going to do is just copy it all and paste it, and then see how it kind of transitions. Not well. So there needs to be something there to kind of temper that. And I'm not in love with this kind of double hit. That bass line sort of likes that, but I don't think it serves the song very well. So I'll probably end up changing that. But yeah, we need something to bridge this. Let's mute the drums just for a minute. Right, just a little bit of a transition in there. And I literally think it could be just a short little thing that we'll come up with in here. So clean up the drums a little bit. Also have this other idea I want to try. Okay, I'm going to try a more extreme key change here. So what I've got here is at the end of this pre-chorus, we get up to this A, and then instead of going to a fifth away, just going one step down. So we go from E to D. And it's a weird move because it's moving down a little bit, and it's not a logical move. So we're not going from a fifth to a root. We're just doing a little step, and it sounds like this. So let me back you up just a little bit. It's weird harmonically. If we can come up with a melody, then it might actually make some sense. We might also adjust the bass line so that it's not quite so stark of a change, and that might be interesting. So another thing that's interesting is at the end of the chorus, if we stick with this shift to D minor, then we're ending on an A, and our verse starts on a C. So what if we did an A to B to C kind of thing? So potentially right in the middle here, we could just add something in B and then just walk it up. So we could potentially do something like this. So the bass is a little high and then it goes a little low, so we could do something like this. At this point, I feel like I need a little bit of a melody to kind of help steer the song. And so what I'm going to do is just start noodling around and drawing in some notes that I think might sound good and see what happens. Okay, and here's the key change. So this little beep boop bop melody ends on an E, just like the bass does. And then when we go to D, we don't want to do a D. I think we want to do like a third or a fifth or something to start the melody, just so it feels a little bit more emotional and like it's soaring a little bit more. So I'm pretty happy with this. We have a intro, a little bit of a warm up into the verse, pre-chorus, chorus. We step up from our chord change back into the warm up, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, another key change, and then key change back. Pretty much all I did here was chorus, 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 but instead of sticking to D, went back to E and then back to D. And so it does this interesting thing. Injects a little bit of energy, and it's familiar, you know, because we've been listening to this. And then at the end here, it shifts back, and it feels pretty comfortable. Right? It doesn't lose the energy, even though it's shifting down. It still feels pretty good. And right now, at the end here, we're about 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I could potentially fade this song out. I think that would be appropriate with a song like this. It's still rough. And pretty much all I did with the second half is copied and pasted. So what I would like to do is go through the second half, make little changes just so it feels fresher and more organic, like it was actually performed rather than just copied and pasted. So still a lot of work to do, but that is pretty much a song. So at this point, I'm going to take another day off and just let it sit, come back to it with fresh ears, and then do some more polishing. It's another new day, and I've listened back to it, and I'm still pretty happy with it. There's a little finagling that I think needs to happen. The melody in the chorus is pretty good, but I think it could use a little massaging. The next thing I'm going to do is start doubling up the tracks. So we had this drum track here, and what I did is I just copied it and then assigned a organic and like real drum set to it so that it sounds a little more real and a little more full. And then added in a couple of simple fills to kind of transition between the different parts. So it will sound more like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing with our piano. I'm going to double it up, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the bass and double it up. So for the piano, I'm just going to duplicate it, create a new track. I'm going to just copy the whole thing. Copy, paste. And then we've got the Wurlitzer going on this one track. I like to use a lot of times also an FM piano. I think it sounds real 80s, and I just like the sound of it. So let's see if I can find 80s FM piano. That kind of a vibe. And so then what I'll do is I will listen to these two tracks together. Let's pull that FM down and then bring it in until we can just barely hear it. So we get the lushness of the Wurlitzer, but we get that bell-like quality of the FM piano. I think that's a cool mix. So the bass, we have this very kind of electronic synth bass. So let's see if I can come up with something else to kind of round that out a little bit. Same deal, I'm going to do a new track, create. I'm just going to copy the bass. The thing with synth bass, some of them are real punchy, and some are real round. Some are so low and sub, you can barely hear them. Kind of like the sound of that. I don't know why. So let's solo the two basses together. Let's turn that new one down. Now what I might do is this original bass, I might find something a little less punchy. And we could potentially even just dial the punch out of this bass. So the cutoff is right about there. So if we did that and then mix the two. We get the bottom end of that first bass, but then that kind of instrumental or orchestral kind of attack of the other bass. What do they sound like together? Pretty cool. So the one thing that we haven't really paid any attention to is this lead line. It's very kind of plucky, especially when we get to this part. Reminds me a little bit of like a computer sound. So I want to see if I can find something that will suit that. So I'm going to go into some synthesizers. Let's go into leads. Again, a lot of these are just going to sound terrible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop a section of this so that I can kind of hear it over and over. Some of these are real sharp and loud too. See, that's kind of cool. What does that sound like with everything? Coming along. There's a couple of little things like this chorus here. It goes on for, 4 times. I think the second two, I might want to add something else. So I'll just put in another track here. So just holding a D throughout sounds okay. I wonder if we could do something more dramatic. Okay, I'm going to turn the lead red just so it pokes out a little bit more in here. So this will be a transition. It's acceptable for now. What if we put a reverb on here? What does this sound like? So last thing I'm going to do today is I'm just going to run this whole thing through a little mastering plugin. It'll apply some compression, it'll apply some EQ to kind of level it all out, and then I'm just going to listen to it front to back, and then I'm going to put it away for a few days, and then I'll come back in a week or another week and just listen to it with some fresh ears. Again, keep making little adjustments to either the melody or the drum part just to make it sound more interesting, more fresh, so it's not so repetitive. And that's a done song. So as soon as it's done here, there is my mastering chain. So let's check the loudness here. I'm going to hit start. It's kind of a cool key change. So like I said, I'm just going to let it sit. I revisit it a couple of times, keep making little adjustments, and then eventually I say, that's it, and I publish it. So I hope you found that maybe interesting. It's probably a pretty long video because there's a lot that goes into all of this, and it doesn't always go well, you know, working on this one, and haven't made much progress on that one at all for months. And that's how it goes sometimes. Some of them just take off and they bloom into a song. Other ones are just sort of ideas that just sit there. My new Empire Let's Play series, that theme song, I wrote that 15 years ago. I was going to put lyrics to it. The lyrics just never came. And eventually I just decided to play the melody rather than sing it. And it's great. It works really well. It's a nice song. But yeah, there's not always a perfect process. Anyway, I'm going to let it go there. I appreciate you all popping in and checking it out. Leave me comments, ask me questions, and I will see you in the next one.